I think we'll get started now. My name is Kathy Horn. I'm the co-chair of the Sustainability Coalition, which is an umbrella group for individuals, departments, and clubs that are interested in improving sustainability on campus. Couple of housekeeping notes. First of all, I'd like to thank the library for hosting us today, and a special thanks to Judy Panolis, Amy Lawton, Leah Washington, and Yoon Choi for their help and guidance. This session is hybrid, meaning some folks are joining us via Zoom, and it's also being recorded. So those of you who are speaking today, please speak into the mic so people on Zoom can hear you. Like I said, the Sustainability Coalition works together and individually to improve sustainability on campus. We host events such as this one. We also do projects such as trying to increase the number of water refill stations on campus. Through our work, we get a lot of questions about sustainability and about recycling specifically, which is why we're hosting this session. So what we're going to do is a quick overview of what is currently being done from different departments and from our guests from Waste Management. We're going to move through this at a pretty good clip because we want to save a lot of time at the end for conversation and questions. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to our first guests, which are Kevin Andrade and Mark George from Waste Management. They're going to talk to us about recycling.
Thank you all for coming today. I appreciate the opportunity. Sorry about that. To speak with you about a little bit about the sustainability that we have going on at Berklee here. We currently do service all of Berklee. We have single stream currently, which is a co-mingle that you plastic bottles, cups, and whatnot at all the locations. We've actually added additional locations to 1096, 921, and 98 Hemingway. Prior to Mike leaving. We also do composting on site, which is the food organics waste from the cafeterias and other locations where food is served. We've in the past tried to increase that where opportunities are available. Myself, Mike, who unfortunately has left us, have worked diligently with Ashley to just find some opportunities. Mark came along also, and he's a sustainability manager. He took a wider look to see some more opportunities here at Berklee, and the team here with Kathy and the rest of the sustainability team will continue to work on new locations throughout Berklee to increase that into the coming year. The goal is obviously to reduce the waste that we produce here at Berklee and turn it into recyclables, which then can be reused and repurposed down the road. We have some slides here that Mark will walk you through just to give you a little bit of information about where the material actually goes, whether it be the compost or the material, the recycled material, plastic bottles and whatnot. So with that being said, I'll turn this over to Mark, and he can take you through this.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. So I think this one's working, correct? Yeah. So as Kevin was saying, I'm Mark George, Sustainability Program Manager at Waste Management for the New England Upstate New York region. Kevin's kind of outlined, the different services that you guys have on campus, single stream recycling, organics, to be the two main recycling streams. What I wanted to do is just kind of give a very high level overview of how those streams are managed after they leave campus on their way to being recycled. So starting first with single stream recycling. I'm sure everyone's familiar with the different bins that they see around campus that are then loaded into the larger rubbish trucks. Those trucks are brought to different processing facilities around the region. Once they get to the processing facilities, they dump their recycling on the floor, seen in this photo here. These are all just images just to give you a better idea of what it is we're talking about. So they dump the loads on the floor for commingling at the facility. Once at the facility and dumped, they're loaded into the processing lines where they're sorted by material, whether it's cardboard, paper, plastic, glass, the different grades within those classifications, and delivered into different bunkers. Once the bunkers are full, they are loaded onto conveyors and sent to one of the few balers that are within the facility. The balers, like you see here, generate bales of whatever that material is, whether it's cardboard, plastic, paper, so on and so on. The bales are then aggregated until there are full loads, and then they can be sold as commodities to the different manufacturers who then, within their own process, take these raw materials a step further so that they can be repurposed into either new fleece jackets, shoes, construction materials, so on and so on. But this is the first step in getting these recyclable materials from point of generation here at campus to an actual reusable product that can be used in the market. So switching now to the organic streams, similar in the sense of the material is captured here on campus in small barrels, picked up in larger trucks, brought to a facility for processing. The facility where the organics are brought to from Berklee is in Charlestown. It's a waste management facility that processes or single stream organics. One of the main advantages to this facility is that it's not a compost setting, it's a pre-processing site, and has the ability to receive organics that have a significantly higher rate of contamination than if it was going to compost. So in a compost setting, it needs to be 100% clean so that it can be composted, turned to soil, and then reused within the agricultural industry. For us, we are converting all of the organics to a bioslurry, which I'll talk about here in a minute, and then that's used in anaerobic digestion. So similar, like I said, to the single stream recycling, materials dumped on the tipping floor and commingled at our site, and then loaded with, in this case, front loaders into the processes that we have in place to separate out. What happens here is the organics are separated from any contaminants. The contaminants are pressed for any liquids that might be in them that we can capture as well. And then the organics are turned into a slurry and stored in these tanks on site in Charlestown. Now the slurry, it's consistent in total solids, total organic matter, strength, and energy content. And we're able to generate this product that can be brought to anaerobic digesters. In our case, we partner with I went too far here. There we go. We partner with the Greater Lawrence Sanitary District in Lawrence, Mass. They have anaerobic digesters on site at their facility, and we bring our bioslurry to them, probably 7 to 8 tanker trucks per day. And because of its consistency and makeup, it can get injected into their process, into their digestion process. And the bugs within the anaerobic digesters take this slurry that we're generating, because it's so high in energy content, it's almost like a steroid for them. So the bugs end up eating more waste, producing more gas, and ultimately the wastewater treatment plant at Greater Lawrence is able to capture this gas and burn it in their cogen, in their cogen burners, as opposed to pulling energy from the grid. And it's been a benefit to them over the last 6 years since we've been bringing it in. I also included, and Kathy, I don't know if this is something you're sending out afterwards, but there's much longer videos on both of these facilities that can be viewed at either of these websites. But we just didn't want to view them today just for sake of time.
Okay, so the bins on campus that you see, you have the and the signs. Can you explain a little bit about those and some of the problems that you see with what's happening with contamination?
Sure. So again, with the help of the facilities team here, we've provided some signage along with some additional information with regards to what can be put in, what cannot be put in. The biggest problem we see as for contaminants, which a lot of these towns in this area will probably, plastic bags. Plastic, you say it's plastic, you think it's recyclable. Plastic bags at the MERV facilities are the biggest cause of contamination. And not only that, we have our facility out in Billerica. They have a person that spends 8 to 10 hours a day cutting plastic bags out of the conveyor belts. They actually have a 40-hour position that just grinds out the plastic bags. If anybody's wound up a plastic bag and tried to rip it apart, Very, very difficult, very, very strong. So we would ask, that's the biggest contaminants we probably see with Berklee in most locations is plastic bags. There are other facilities, a lot of the supermarkets here. I know Star Market, Stop and Shop, Market Basket, Roach Brothers. They do have a facility that they actually take the plastic bags into and then they send it to. But we would ask that those don't end up in the recycling bins. But most of the plastics can be recycled. I know some of the you had questions during the sustainability meeting we had. Again, some of the darker plastics, they don't get picked up by our scanners, and some of the recycling facilities don't accept all of the different types of plastics that are recyclable 1 through 7. So for the most part, we will take it all, and then it'll be recycled. Not to say that it will not, it won't get picked up by a scanner. Some of the darker materials, it's very difficult to pick up from the scanners as opposed to the clear plastic materials. Also, we would ask that if you have another huge contaminant is people think because it's plastic, there's food waste in it. We ask that you try to clean out as much as possible, right? Because this is going to get broken down at some point into something else. So if it's filled, we'd ask you to empty it out. Water bottles, big thing, right? I was at the facility. The caps, if you're going to plastic water bottle, Poland Springs, Aquafina, we'd ask that the caps be on, either completely on or completely off. Those small pieces are huge also, right? If we just toss those pieces in there, they don't get captured because they fall through the filtration system. And again, we have sorters up and down the line. They're not going to see a small cap. So we would ask you to keep them completely on or completely off. The other thing is a lot of material that you don't think can be recycled. Again, as long as it's clean, clear, glass, plastic, whatnot, we can recycle it. Again, we're going to continue with the facilities team. I know, again, the new facilities manager to get more signage out, to get other things to show you what can and can't. As we get updated every year, new things get added to the list that can be recycled because we're finding new ways to recycle material.
Question.
Sure.
So our recycling bins that are around campus, they should not be lined with plastic bags, correct?
So the facilities managers here, when they go to tip them, they normally tip them without the recycle bags. So they will fill them up, take them, and then tip them into those bins, the actual bins that we put out, whether it be the one up the road here, actually next door at 160, or the actual toter bins. We have the facility that we use for recycling does take a certain amount with plastic bags in them. The clear plastic bags, normally it is a certain amount, but we ask the facilities try not to, use those and tip them. Berklee's been very good about it. We have very, very little contamination, which is kudos to all of you in the facility here that gets contaminated. I think I've had in the last year maybe 2 contamination calls, which is pretty substantial.
That recycling bin right there
has a plastic liner, and where I work, almost all the bins have plastic liners, the blue recycling bins. So should we be telling the managers to not have the cleaning people put liners in those bins?
It's not necessarily a matter of putting them in or not putting them in. You can have the liner in the barrel at the point of collection, like you're indicating over here. It's a matter of when the cleaning people bring that bag to the dumpster or the toter or whatever receptacle it is that our truck's going to dump and then bring to the facility, there are some facilities, some operations that just dump the bag, rip it open, dump that material loose because the bag is their only mode of collection, or I'm sorry, transporting the loose material from the point of collection to where the trucks are going to get it. It's a problem that has solutions. It's just a matter of being able to get with the right stakeholders on campus, talk through the issue of material movement, within the buildings, and then come up with a solution. Each building probably has its own challenges. Boston's an older city. There's a lot of old buildings, a lot of tight alleyways, a lot of challenges that you have to work through. A bagged system like what's in the library right now could work in some settings. In other settings, it may make more sense to have a bagless barrel that is then dumped into a toter that can be wheeled around at night by the cleaning staffs. That might work in a building in a different setting. Other settings might be better suited to just have the material brought straight from the point of collection down to a dumpster. But it all comes down to communicating with the stakeholders and the people who were involved in setting up a process that can be followed and then reinforced, throughout the school year as well.
Yeah, a couple. Is that working? Okay.
I believe so.
Just on the bag question, which is great. Some of the compost services have bags they provide that are able to be, I guess, used as compost even, or they don't have to do anything separate with them. Could such bags be used in our system?
For the food waste? Yes, they could, yeah. Certainly. The only difference is that they could be used, and the purpose of the use would be to line the barrels for sanitary reasons, to keep the barrels as clean as possible. At our facility, because of the process that we have in place, it does not distinguish between compostable and non-compostable bags.
Okay.
So a compostable bag and a non-compostable bag are both considered contaminants within that system, because even though a compostable bag will break down in a compost pile, there's no real energy value to it. It's just a material that's going to break down and is not going to contaminate the compost that's being broken down in. So going back to like our system, we're not creating compost. We're creating a different type of a byproduct. And it would just be recognized as another contaminant in that system.
Yeah, the other question I had, just curiosity, what is the gas used for that is produced by the anaerobic bacteria?
They have biogas burners on site, and they're burning the gas and creating their own electricity, essentially.
Electricity.
Yeah, they're essentially just generators, on-site generators.
Okay, thank you. We're going to have time at the end for more questions, and but trying to keep this moving along because we have a lot to get through. And so next I'm going to call on Gabby McDonough from Aramark, our dining services partner.
Hi, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Gabby McDonough. I am the registered dietitian for Berklee Dining. I work for Aramark, the food service contractor, and I am on the Sustainability Coalition with a lot of the folks you see here. I attend the monthly meetings and we discuss what we're doing at the dining hall around campus and even as a company. And one of the first things I want to talk to you about is our green to go container. So students and faculty and staff have the opportunity to purchase one of these containers just once for $5 and take food to go. At the cafeteria, we have no disposable to go containers at all. No cups, no bowls, no plates. This is the only way students can take out food. So they purchase it once, they can come in, fill up the container, take the food out, bring it back dirty. We get rid of the food waste through the composting program that we have going on in the dish room through waste management. And then we give the student a new clean container. So they don't even have to do dishes. They can decide to eat in the cafeteria and take food out. They're just required to swipe their meal card twice. This helps students, eat with their friends, with commuters. They eat off campus if they feel like they don't want to be too stimulated in the dining hall. It can be very stimulating. So it just really helps a whole host of things, but definitely sustainability as well. This is a great program that we have. And we have transaction history about how many have been purchased over the last several years. So if anybody's interested in that, I can get you that information. Like I said, we did remove everything disposable for COVID time. We did have a lot of disposable items that we were giving out to students so that we could, spread the population out and reduce risk of that spread of COVID. But now we don't have any of that. So students have to use the melamine bowls and cups that we have at the cafeteria. Thinking about the disposable coffee cups, specifically, students have asked, we need these back. We really like taking coffee to go. And we totally understand that. But from a sustainability perspective and from a cost perspective, it's actually best all around to just keep drinking coffee in the cafeteria with your friends. Another thing that we do on campus at Cafe 939 and Cafe 24, everything there actually is takeout food. So they don't have any reusable items at those locations. But every takeout food container that we provide to students is compostable. So the bowls, the covers, the plasticware, all of that is compostable. And I know waste management has some challenges with the compostable plasticware specifically, because it's really hard to tell, correct? And that might be considered a contaminant as well. Yes, because from far away, you can't read the small print that says compostable or biodegradable on that said utensil. So that is a challenge, but open to ideas. Another thing that we do at the cafeteria is we're growing our own herbs and microgreens right now. So we purchased a Babylon micro farm, and this is a company that is out of Pennsylvania. They came and delivered this 6 by 8 foot unit, and we are growing Genovese basil, Thai basil, mint, oregano, microgreen arugula, and microgreen pea shoots. And I think for the next 4 days, we're actually going to be harvesting the microgreen arugula. So that's really exciting. We're going to have it on our avocado toast, most likely, because that seems to be the most applicable way to use it right now. But our executive chef and our sous chef, Nordine, are going to get really creative over time on how to use all of these homegrown greens. So that's really exciting. And over a year, I think it produces about 1,400 servings of produce. So we really will be making a little bit of an impact on our local food production. Speaking to that, we also applied with the help of Katie Sadowski, who is in institutional advancement, to apply for what's called the Kendall P. Foundation Grant, help of Kathy as well. We took a lot of time over the summer to get a grant application submitted to the Kendall P. Foundation Grant, and their whole idea is to increase the amount of local food availability. So in Massachusetts, people growing their own food and that being consumed by the population. So to do that here, we had the vision to create a garden of sorts on the terrace at the 160 building, which is on the 4th floor. And really, we have a dream. Whether it can actually be executed with some certain access challenges is a whole nother story, but we will hear back if we get that grant come November. And we did apply for about $190,000, right, to execute that project. It's definitely a very competitive grant. So who knows what's going to happen, but it was fun to go through the process, and at least we have some of that experience under our belts. Mainly, what we recycle out of the cafeteria is the food, the organic food waste, and cardboard. We want to put more of a focus on recycling tin cans, and that can be a sideboard conversation that we have. I know that a larger challenge is definitely cleaning those out to preventing that food contamination in the recycling products. And it's a lot of labor. Like, we go through a lot of tin cans in the cafeteria. So sideboard conversation, but what was that? Yeah. But something, just ways to grow and figure out what we can do better as a dining provider. We do, on my small screen here, purchase from a lot of different local vendors. We have Revival Cafe, which is right on Newbury Street. Where is it? Right here somewhere. Oh, there it is. Yes. We have their bakery products at Archie's Cafe. Sid Wainer down here is the provider that sources produce from about 25 plus farms around New England. And that's where we source our produce from solely. Little Leaf Farms is a farm in Devons where we get a lot of our leafy greens, specifically our red and green leaf mix. They're a hydroponic farm, so really sustainable, delicious, extra crunchy, big fan. And Boston's Best Coffee, that's the coffee that we have. We've partnered with the local taqueria, Amelia's. They came in and did, a takeover of Delicious Destinations one day. So we're always trying to grow this profile and really engage with local partners on and on and on as much as we can, because, carbon footprint, we can get somebody down, within a few miles. That's going to be better than getting something from across the country. And that's all I have. Thank you. All
All right, next up is Cindy Nelson from Campus Business Services.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Cindy Nelson. I'm the Associate Director of Campus Business Services. And I think my department touches a lot of vendors and people that we could, really say could help us with our sustainability efforts. And obviously, two of them are here today, Aramark, Waste Management. But we also manage the contracts for Xerox, Barnes & Noble, Automatic Laundry. We've got, those people all are expanding our sustainability footprint because they're large corporations. They have their own sustainability goals. So we get the opportunity to kind of tap into those. We also, in our department, we send out and we are responsible for the bidding and the RFP process at Berklee, which is request for proposals. So in any of the bids that we send out, we have always have a sustainability clause and portion of the bids. We also, when we are going through and really evaluating a potential new vendor, that is one of the criteria that we use, as an evaluation. We also, in that RFP process, and we look at some of our vendors. One of the vendors I always want to note is WB Mason, and they. There's this whole idea of recycled products, which they have a lot of, but some recycled products are more expensive than others. So when you're thinking about, ways to recycle or ways to save when you're ordering office supplies, if you think about gather your office supply orders into, don't order a pen or don't order a pair of scissors. Try to, as you order supplies, make it worth the while of the truck coming to our campus, putting that into a box and making sure that, there's a lot filling that box. So that's one way without buying something that's recycled to really help our carbon footprint. And, one of the reasons that we do business with WB Mason, they're a local company. They are delivering to our neighbors every day. So the footprint of them being here to deliver to us is also, they're already here. So we're kind of tapping onto that. One of the projects that we have going for later this winter, we have awarded a new water supply company. So we are getting rid of those big blue jugs that are around campus. So we won't be using those anymore. We'll be using all filtered water in a filtration system. And that's certainly more sustainable. And when we think about like the whole notion of when we left campus for COVID and having these jugs of water sitting there for a year, and then coming back, I'm sure nobody drank any of that. Well, I might have, but just the idea of having to to dump all of those and trying to lug those around and just the plastic in themselves in those jugs. But so that is one of the other efforts that we're making. We also do our very best in terms of furniture supplies and furniture ordering. We try as a campus to order some similar, similar brands and similar, types of furniture. So when someone's not using it anymore, that somebody else in another building can use that. And we have some furniture supplies and surplus that we try to tap into. That's kind of what we're doing in our office. And if people have questions later, I'd be happy to try to answer them.
All right. Next up is Noe Irahita Carrillo from Facilities and Physical Plant.
My name is Noah Araheta Carrillo. I've joined Berklee about 6 months ago. And one of the first projects that we're currently working on is relabeling our trash receptacles and recycling, as Waste Management spoke of. So we're currently partnering with a sign vendor to get something that's more uniform campus-wide and could be color-coded. As you know, the recycling blue and the trash, it says waste on it. Just as you know, some of the receptacles are not labeled, and we want to be sure that everything is labeled so that we are able to distinguish between the two and pass that down to all the folks, color coded and easy to identify. The other part is just updating our signs, as what Waste Management mentioned. So we have some in the back there that basically just tells you what can be recycled, what cannot, and just getting those updated just because those are a little bit out of date. So we're currently going through campus and just getting all of those updated. It is a work in progress, but within the next couple of months, we hope to have the signs available and the posters updated as well. And as Cindy Nelson mentioned as well, we also work with our furniture just to try to reuse as much as we can. If we get anything back in our storage, which is at 161 Mass Ave and 169, we have a little bit of storage there. Anytime that anybody needs a piece of furniture that is no longer being used, we just try to, repurpose it and have somebody else use it. That's all I have for now, but that's one of our biggest efforts is the recycling. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, next up is Kai Turnbull, faculty member who's going to talk to us about an equipment giveaway program that we started. And actually, Harold Rivas was integral in starting that last semester. So,
hello, everyone. My name is Kai Turnbull. I teach in electronic production and design department, which is a tech-heavy major. It's one of several on campus. And as such, we actually have ongoing, often 3-4 year cycles of the latest, greatest technology equipment. And for a long time, we've been trying to find ways to find homes for the products that end up being outdated. There's a big push by each department and divisions to have the most current, so it can support the students' training, so they can go out into the field and be professionally ready. So it's actually a requirement. But as we know, we've ended up with a lot of electronic musical instruments and recording systems that are outdated that we either have to store or ultimately, we have to throw away. So what we're trying to do, we've had this on and off over several years, is find a way to, for sure, make sure that students who are involved with studies at the college could benefit in some capacity with this equipment that the college is no longer using. And as such, we had a rollout during summer that involved giving identified pieces of equipment to various students who had applied through the Student Governance Association, the club here. And that was, I think, quite a success as such for those individuals. One of the things that I really liked about that, and it was in part by Jerry Smith, I don't know his title, Kathy, but he's involved with overseeing technology here across multiple, facilities and all that, was his wish to have a reasoning from the particular student who applied, so you could get a sense of why they wanted that particular piece of gear. Maybe it was a vintage synth that's just gained such euphoric standards in people's minds that, oh, I need to have that. And, there's many uses for thinking about what we collect, of course. And that seemed fair enough. It's a functioning unit, nothing wrong with it. That kind of product is great. You feel that someone's going to look after it for a long time to come. There's other pieces of gear where there's some challenge because, as you know, when you have hardware, software interconnectivity in a product, when software is no longer supported by a company, it can result in that particular piece of hardware becoming obsolete. It's no longer supported. And this is where I feel I can help contribute to the bigger picture of it. If you understand that, you can still work with a given system. If you're working with, let's say, a Mac OS range of years that it's been updated, you can actually keep working with that particular piece of hardware. But it would then, of course, mean that you understand that and you actually have a dedicated computer system that could support that hardware. So it's another component to it. So you find, for example, a great quality device that can record high quality audio into the computer requires this driver, and that driver is no longer supported. You need to actually have the computer that still has that operating system that recognizes it. So there's tricky things. So that's the kind of educational piece I feel we could have some oversight in the program. Also, I'm thinking long-term, bigger is maybe to try to get involved with the acquisition and purchasing, where we're aligning ourselves with companies that themselves have stated environmental mission statements. And clearly there's really good thinking out there in the industry. I mean, for example, right now I'm speaking through the PA system here, and we know we have cabinets that may or may not have plastic or metal or wood components. So there are companies out there that are building, let's say, great speaker systems that have wooden cabinets. And I know of one, for example, that have committed to planting 10 trees so that their net zero aim will be achieved by balancing it with tree planting. So there's these kind of affiliations that I think the college could do in relationship to the program. So multi-layers, get the students equipment that they can really use, and they're showing that they are going to be committed to it, and bigger picture issues that we hope to address moving forward. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And thanks everyone for presenting. As you can see, there's a lot going on at Berklee already, but we really want to build on the successes that we've had and continue. It takes a village. We all have to do our part. And so how can you get involved? Well, you can think about ways that you can reduce, reuse, and recycle in your life. And it's pretty easy. Little changes in your habits can make a big difference, such as carrying around a reusable coffee cup or water bottle. You can get involved in one of the clubs or environmental groups on campus. So there's Berklee Climate Action, which is a student club. There's Student Government Association. There's the Green Group for liberal arts faculty. And there's the Sustainability Coalition, which is everybody. So if you're interested in joining one of those groups, you can leave your email and your name with me afterwards, and I'll put you in touch with the correct person. Berklee is in the midst of a strategic planning process. So you may have seen that the college and our interim president and executive director are asking for feedback from students, faculty, and staff on what they want the strategic direction of Berklee to be. So now's the time, if you really feel strongly about sustainability and moving these things forward, to make your thoughts known through this process. So I would encourage that. And lastly, I heard that there is going to be a competition amongst colleges and universities starting in January, I believe, and it's called the Race to Zero. And I need to get more information about that. No, I don't know if you know about it or if Waste Management knows about it. Oh, yeah, you guys know. So maybe you could speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, so what is it? It's called the Campus Race to Zero, and I can send you more information on that after the fact, Kathy. But what it essentially is, it's a platform where multiple schools and campuses can aggregate their data and essentially compete to see who has diverted the most material from their waste stream over a given period. But
Okay.
yeah, I'll get you more information on how you guys can join that and details on that,
Okay.
after the fact too.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. And in terms of the strategic direction, I found this. This is the vision for Berklee in 2015. It's old, but part of the vision for 2015 was to strive to create universal, to develop programs and innovations to conserve energy and resources. So this was part of Berklee's strategic plan. And so we want it to continue to be part of that. And again, I would urge you to make your feelings known on that. So thank you for being here. We're going to open it up for questions and ideas. If you have any ideas on what Berklee could be doing to kind of build on what we're doing already. So, anybody have any questions or ideas?
I got it. Cool. Thanks, Dave Wentling from Concert Operations. I run the David Friend Recital Hall over at 921 Boylston, and I know for a fact that we do not recycle anything but cardboard in that entire building. I've been monitoring it myself and kind of raising a little bit of a stink about it, but I'd really like to fix that. I know there's two big dumpsters down in the loading dock that are just full of trash, and they did put a couple of recycling bins out there, and for the longest time, they were always empty. And then I put a piece of cardboard and one bottle in each one, and it was like that for an entire month. So absolutely nothing has been recycled in that entire building, even though every single office and every room has a recycle bin. So I would love to see our new, hopefully, sustainability manager come and fix that, because I kind of take it personally, because we see the blue bins, we're told it's recycling, and it's not. So it's kind of a lie. And the same holds true for 939. Next door, they do zero recycling. And for all the years that I've been around the Performance Center, there's no recycling going on there as well. So I think we need to educate our cleaning staff and about recycling, and also physical plant workers need to kind of step up. Right now, the system is kind of broken, because they've got to, if there was recycling, they'd have to lug it all the way over to the dumpster, which is, across the street through a couple of construction sites. And that's really not working. So I would like to see one of those two dumpsters be a recycling dumpsters, and have a recycling pickup right there on site. And I think that's doable. I know personally myself, I recycle, and I have more recycling than trash every week. So I think that there's probably a lot more recycling than trash in our building. Another quick thing, and thank you, Aramark, for all that you do. I had no idea. That's great. But there's a lot of events around campus where they bring food in, and they only bring a trash bin in. So there's a lot of recycling that goes in the trash. So I'd like to see a trash bin and a recycling bin come to all those events. I think it would be really good thing. But anyway, thanks a lot to you guys as well. And we talked before. I'm going to give you my card.
So just to speak to that, and yes, we've myself and Mike, we walked the campus with Ashley, with Mark, probably about a month and a half ago. We did see some opportunities to obviously increase recycling. I know previously, before the ones we added, the cleaning staff would take it from site to site and go to 160, which the 160 compactor is in a loading dock, is a single stream compactor, which takes everything. It's where Aramark is. So that's where it's placed. But I mean, I definitely can, again, we can definitely take a look at it, and definitely increase that. We have no problem. Again, we're here to work with you guys. When you see there's opportunity, I bring it to myself, Noy, any of the sustainability managers would be more than happy to look at those sites, see the feasibility of getting a truck there on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, whatever the needs may be for each of those locations. But again, it is a work in progress. Change is not overnight. We definitely know that the more you see it, the more you're more to use it. More recycling, people tend to, as they see it repeatedly, will end up more recycling more. So we'll definitely work on it, and we'll take note of it, and definitely touch base on the next meeting on the improvements.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
Is that a suggestion for students being more informed about these things? I don't know how many students are currently in the room, but I feel like most of us are not that aware of what's going on. And I feel like these kind of events could be advertised more, or students could be more educated in this matters, because I feel like many times they just don't recycle because in their houses they haven't been taught to do so. Or even international students are taught to put they have different recycling bins in the countries they come from. So they are still adjusting to that. Maybe some people don't even pay attention to the signs where it says what things can fit into the trash. And I feel like the students are a big part of this process of sustainability. So a suggestion would be to put that out there more, because I feel like it's very important.
Question for you. What's the best way to reach students right now?
I feel like one of the ways is via email, I guess, updates. I mean, I found about this event, it was very hidden somewhere, reported 2 hours ago I found about it. And I feel like, I don't know exactly how, but I feel like the information just doesn't get to the students. So I know there's probably a lot of attempts to do so, but
Yeah.
it's just
It's a struggle. That's why I was asking, like, what's the best way?
Right.
Like, how do you find out your information?
As part of the Sustainability Coalition, I've been trying to get the Berklee Hub to print these things. So I just want to ask, do students see that on a regular basis? Or is there another site?
I was going to suggest adding an element to student orientations that explains about the recycling.
I have an additional suggestion, which would be to find a way to implement this message into our programming, considering we're all very creative performing artists. We have an opportunity to spread that message to each other and to people outside of our campus through our performances. So I think that might be another thing that we can explore.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I was thinking. This idea of faculty engagement is so central to the initiative, I think, or at least certainly something as a faculty member I can contribute to. How do we connect and network our entire community as a central component? As you're pointing out, it's in the mission statement from 2015. So something I think as a faculty member to make that happen is I can work on a personal level with my chair. I already have spoken to her and she's wonderful. She's on board, but she already talked about it on a chair level. And the chairs, they answer to the deans, and the deans answer, to the president and so on. There's a academic leadership monthly meeting where I think if we're getting support from academic leadership, is basically that goes down to the chairs and then the chairs to faculty. So there's something that we need to work on there. So it just becomes common knowledge across the community, but it has to be central to the mission. Something's like put it in the mission statement of the college. But yeah, that's what I thought.
So one thing I've noticed in the dorms is that we don't have compost, as far as I'm aware, in the dorms themselves. And I know like a lot of students have mini fridges and stuff where they'll keep fruit and snacks and whatever. And I know for my room personally, we do create like some food waste. And being in 270, we're not going to go to the caf to put our like banana peels and stuff in that composting facility. So I think composting in the dorms would be a pretty good thing to have if possible.
Can I address that?
That's and just because I think we're we're in the middle of Boston and we're obviously a very urban campus. So I think one of the things that the facilities department and certainly our department wants to really fight against is rodents. So that we're not going to be in a place where we want to store food or have things, or a place where we're going to attract mice or attract rats. Or so I hear you, and I think that's that's a valid point. But I think we're fighting against another element right now, and I think that's something that we really it's kind of like you've got to balance buying recycled things with the cost. And I think this is one of those instances that it's probably not worth the idea of saving a banana peel or two if you've got 3 rats in your room. I think that's more of an issue. And I think that's really one of the reasons that, we have kind of a careful composting, thought around campus, that's something that we kind of fight against. And I think Noe would know that too, but that's a good point.
You could compost the rats.
That's it. I think they would create a lot of energy in their rat slurry.
The city of Boston also has a composting program called Project Oscar. And so if you look on the city's website, they'll show you where there are receptacles throughout the city of Boston where you can bring your compost. But, again, it would mean traveling somewhere where you could travel to the cafeteria. So.
Yeah, I have a suggestion about how we can spread more awareness about this, maybe in a smaller setting so that people actually pay attention. So at the beginning of the semester, we have these residence hall meetings. So I think that could be a really effective way to make people aware about how to, practice segregating their waste, so that instead of just everybody attending a big presentation in the BPC where nobody's really listening or talking to each other, you can just have it in a smaller setting where people will attend and pay attention.
That's a good idea. Thank you.
I just wanted to mention one other thing I remembered before I jump because I have a 2 o'clock meeting. But this semester, I'm hosting the first ever plant-based food committee meeting at the Eisenson room at the 160 building. I had a QR code at our vegan and vegetarian station at 160 for students to sign up. But if there are any students in here that are interested in talking about plant-based eating as an effort for health of your body and the earth, we are going to have that meeting on October 4th at 10 a.m. in the Eisenson room. And you can just reach out to me. My email is nutritionservices@berklee.edu, and I can send you the invite for that.
I know it points to this idea of a cultural shift. We've got to find a way in the big picture to make this a unified effort from all the layers of academic leadership all the way down to the student body, which may in fact involve then people finding ways to, I can actually drop this off if I plan my day, but the intent has to be there first, because convenience is always going to take over, So anyway, it's just a big picture we need to always try and work on. That's it. Thank you.
Yes, and what we would really like to have is a sustainability coordinator for Berklee. Right now, those of us who are working on it, we have other jobs. So I'm the AVP of concert operations. So this is just something I do on the side. But it would be great to have a dedicated staff person working on these initiatives. So again, part of the strategic planning. If you feel that that is important, please mention it in your feedback.
I just want to add a little bit more to that. So I know you spoke about electronics. Waste management we do have an arm that does do electronics. We do an e-waste. We have an e-waste program. And I can definitely talk to Noe about that also. So some of that electronics that are no longer viable for moving forward, we do have an out so it doesn't end up in a landfill. We do definitely have some options for that. I would encourage Kathy, you have my email address. If any of the students want to have questions, feel free to contact me directly. I work very closely with Mark. If you have a question, hey, can we do something like this? We can always look into it. Myself, Mark, especially, we find outs for things that people would not believe. There's a lot of outs. There's a lot of people out there trying to, be sustainable as possible. I would say at least 75% of the things that we throw away on a daily basis is probably recyclable at some point, which is an amazing aspect. So, if you can just cut that in half, it'd be, again, recycling is a lot more cost efficient. Obviously, it actually helps the earth. But at the same time, it reduces the actual waste. Again, these trucks driving around the city, we try to make it as efficient as possible. Our fleet at WM will be converted to natural gas in the coming years, which we're trying to strengthen that by 2030. We want most of our fleet to be, obviously sustainable, to leave less of a carbon footprint above and beyond what we do. We invest a lot of money in sustainability every year. So again, feel free to contact myself. Kathy has my email address. If anybody wants my card, I'll be more than happy to hand those out. But we're here to help and be a partner with you at the school. Okay.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for coming. Thank you to the presenters and for all of you for sharing your questions and ideas. Like I said, I have a mailing list up here if anybody would like us to reach out to you afterwards with some of these links and resources. And that's it. Thanks for coming.